Princess Alira had heard many things about humans, but she had never been close to one. In the stories told inside the Starloon Dominion, humans were always loud, unpredictable, brave to the point of foolishness, and strangely emotional. Some aliens claimed humans started fights easily. Others said humans protected their friends with impossible loyalty. None of the stories agreed. So when the treaty was signed, when the new academy opened to mix young humans and young aliens together, Princess Alira felt unsure. She wanted peace, she wanted unity, and she wanted to support her parents' dream of a shared future, but she feared she might not understand humans at all. Still, she came. She chose to come. The academy on Luma 5 looked like a floating garden shining under two soft suns. For the humans, it was simple and beautiful. For Alira, it was bright. Too bright. Almost overwhelming. Her own world lived in softer colors and quieter sounds, but she held herself straight and tried not to show discomfort. Her royal council reminded her again and again that she represented an entire species. She must look confident, calm, and ready. She must show that the new generation could work with humans, trust humans, and stand with humans. She stepped out of her ship with her silver-white cloak flowing behind her. She glowed faintly, as all Starloon people did, her skin shimmering like stardust. Students waiting at the landing dock turned their heads. Some whispered. Some scanned her with their eyes as if unsure how close they should stand. She did not blame them. A royal heir rarely traveled alone, and her presence always changed a room's atmosphere. But among the crowd of curious faces, she noticed one human who did not stare too long. He looked once, then simply stepped aside to make space for others. He wore a simple engineering cadet uniform, brown hair, tired eyes, calm expression. He did not whisper like the others. He did not fidget. He looked like he was used to new people arriving every day. Alira wondered if he even knew she was a princess. Her escort guided her through security checks and introduced her to the academy leaders. Alira listened politely, answered formally, and tried to appear relaxed. But everywhere she looked, she saw humans walking in ways she was not used to, too casually, too freely. Some spoke loudly. Some joked with each other even while official instructions were being given. Her heart tightened. How was she supposed to understand people who behaved with such comfort? After the introductions, her escort left her near the courtyard, where new students gathered for their group assignments. She stood quietly, hands folded, observing everything around her. Humans stood in small circles, talking about classes. Alien groups from different worlds kept close to their own species. Some students looked nervous. Some looked ready for adventure. Alira tried not to seem lost. She had studied human customs. But real humans moved so differently compared to the training videos. She wished the ground would stop spinning with noise and color. Then someone stepped up beside her. "You look like you're searching for the right group," a voice said gently. She turned and found herself looking into the same calm human's eyes. He stood at a respectful distance. Not too close. Not too far. He gave a polite nod. No bow, no exaggerated movement, just respectful simplicity. "I can help you find your team if you want," he said. "The board lists everyone, but it's crowded right now." Alira blinked. No one had spoken to her that naturally in months. Everywhere else, people spoke with careful formality, always aware of her title. But this human, he treated her exactly like every other student. "Thank you," she said softly. My name's Evan," he introduced himself. "Evan Hale." "Alira," she replied, leaving out her title. She wanted to see if he would notice. If he did, he gave no sign. He simply smiled lightly, then began leading her toward a quieter side of the courtyard, where a smaller screen displayed student names with less crowd. "You're in Cohort 7, he said as he scrolled through the holographic list. "You'll be in mixed species training. It's peaceful stuff, communication practice, survival, teamwork, problem solving, nothing dangerous." "Mixed species," she repeated, her voice a bit unsure. "Yeah," he answered. "They want humans and aliens to train together so future missions don't fall apart from misunderstandings." He glanced at her expression. "Is that a problem?" "No," she said quickly. He chuckled softly. It's new for all of us. Alira studied his face. Humans showed their emotions in their eyes, and Evan's eyes showed nothing threatening. Only patience. She wondered how someone so calm existed in a species known for unpredictability. They found her name. Her schedule appeared beside it. Alira memorized the room number and thanked Evan again. She expected him to walk away now, but he waited politely, as if making sure she truly knew where she was going before leaving. Do you know the path to the training hall? He asked. Yes, she said. Then, after a moment, she added honestly, no. I mean, I can find it. But it may take time. Evan nodded, not laughing, not commenting, just accepting. I can walk with you if you want. She hesitated. She knew she should stay distant. Royals were not supposed to become too familiar with strangers, but her legs felt weak, her mind felt crowded, and his gentle tone brought a strange sense of steadiness. I would like that, she whispered. They walked through the academy's long glass corridors. Humans and aliens passed by with smiles, waves, or curious looks. Alira kept her steps small and graceful. But inside she felt nervous. What if she made a mistake? What if she misread a human gesture? What if she embarrassed her people on the first day? She kept her gaze forward until Evan suddenly spoke again. You don't have to be nervous, he said in a calm voice. Everyone here is new. Even the students pretending to be confident. Alira lowered her eyes. Is it so obvious? Not really, he replied. I just guessed. His honesty made her laugh quietly, the sound light and surprising even to her own ears. She had not laughed in public for months. Evan smiled slightly at her reaction but did not comment further. When they reached the training hall, students were gathering in circles again. Instructors handed out small devices and explained orientation tests. Evan slowed down, letting Alira adjust to the room. This is where my team goes, he said. You'll be with Cohort 7, on the left side. She nodded. But before she stepped away, she looked at him again. You have been very kind, she said. Thank you for guiding me. You're welcome, he said simply. If you ever need help again, I'm usually in the engineering bay. Or around here. He paused. It was nice meeting you, Alira. She felt a strange warmth in her chest. She carefully bowed her head. Nice meeting you too, Evan. He walked away toward his own group. Alira watched him for a moment longer, unsure why she felt a sense of calm lingering behind him, like a quiet trace of safety. Then, she forced herself to focus on her cohort. Her instructor gave each student a communication device and explained that their first lesson would involve simple navigation. Alira stood among other aliens who whispered excitedly about humans. Some were curious, some cautious. A few looked at Alira, recognizing her glow, but none dared approach her directly. When the instructor said the trial would involve human technology, Alira felt her stomach twist. Her people used soft, flowing interfaces. Human tools were made of metal, buttons, and blinking lights. She held the small navigator in her hands, studying it with confusion. A student beside her, a scaled alien boy from the Keltari tribes, leaned over and whispered, I hear humans treat instructions like suggestions. They improvise everything. Alira did not respond. She had no way to know if it was true. But she remembered Evan's calm face. He did not feel reckless or chaotic. He felt grounded. The trial began. Students walked through marked paths using the device to track correct routes. Alira tried to follow the instructions, but the device beeped loudly whenever she took a wrong step. The sharp sound made her flinch each time. She misread the display 3 times. She took a wrong turn. She froze when 2 human students accidentally bumped into each other while joking loudly. Her instructor noticed her hesitation but said nothing. Alira forced herself to continue, breathing carefully, trying not to panic. She wanted so badly to do well. She wanted to prove she belonged here, but halfway through the route, she became lost again. The device flashed red. Her heart tightened. She felt eyes on her. Though no one said a word, she tried again, turning in a new direction. But the device scolded her once more. Her hands trembled, her glow dimmed slightly. She wished desperately for a familiar Starloon interface. Then, from a distance, she heard a calm voice. "You're going the wrong way. The path curves left." She turned, surprised. Evan stood on the walkway above, holding a toolkit in one hand, watching the training hall as he passed through it on his way to repairs. How long had he been there? She could not tell. But his voice did not sound critical. It sounded encouraging. Alira steadied her breath. She followed the curve he mentioned. The device stopped flashing. She continued along the path, and soon she reached the finish point. She looked up again, but Evan was already gone. Still, she felt something important had happened, something small, but meaningful. A human she barely knew had eased her fear without even trying. Alira left the training hall with the smallest smile on her face. Her challenges had only begun, but for the first time since leaving her home world, she felt a little less alone. She whispered quietly to herself, letting the words settle in her heart. "This new generation. Maybe we can understand each other." And somewhere in the academy, Evan Hale walked through a new corridor, unaware that he had just become the first human the princess trusted. Princess Alira arrived early to the mixed species hall the next morning. She told herself it was because she wanted to learn well, to honor her family, and to show her people she could adapt. But deep inside, she knew another truth. She felt safer when she arrived before the room filled with noise, before the humans' strong voices echoed everywhere, before she had to pretend she understood every new thing around her. The quiet moments were for breathing, for steadying herself, for reminding her heart that this academy was not an enemy. It was a bridge. The hall was mostly empty except for 2 cleaning drones and a human instructor adjusting holograms. Alira walked slowly through the space, lightly touching the edges of the training tables, feeling the metal unfamiliar under her glowing fingers. Her people used soft materials grown from crystal vines. Human metal felt colder, heavier. Still, she wanted to learn it. She wanted to understand what humans trusted, what they built with, what their hands shaped daily. As she waited, more students began arriving. Some nodded politely at her. Some avoided her eyes, unsure how to address a royal heir. A few whispered with curiosity. Alira did not mind the whispers anymore. She remembered how Evan did not whisper, how he simply treated her like a normal person. That memory gave her unexpected calm. Around mid-morning, the hall was full. Today was the start of official teamwork trials. 4 different species and 20 humans stood in circles while the main instructor, a tall human woman with silver hair, activated the projectors. "Today's trial is peaceful problem solving," she explained. "Communication, trust, and coordination. Nothing dangerous. But you will need to rely on each other." Alira felt a small rush of nerves. She scanned the room, wondering who she would be paired with. She hoped not expected, only hoped that maybe she would cross paths with Evan again, but she quickly corrected herself. Evan had his own program. He was not part of this trial. When the screen displayed team assignments, her breath caught. Her name was listed beside Evan Hale. For a long second, she thought it must be a mistake. But the instructor called names, and when she reached Alira of Starloon and Evan Hale, the 2 were directed to the same training station. Alira's heart softened with relief. Before she could stop herself, Evan approached her with a small smile. "Looks like we're partners today." She nodded carefully, trying to appear calm. "I was not expecting this." "Me neither," he said, "but I think it'll be fine." Fine was an understatement. Alira felt a sense of comfort she could not explain. Their first trial required them to build a stable structure using pieces from various alien cultures. Some pieces were flexible, some magnetic, some organic, and some crystalline. The rule was simple. Each species must handle their own materials, but both partners must decide the structure design together. Alira examined the Starloon crystal strips assigned to her. She felt confident about shaping them into curves, but she hesitated to speak. Humans liked direct communication. Her people preferred subtle hints. She did not know how much she should talk, or when. Evan lowered himself beside the parts and looked at the materials with interest. Your pieces look beautiful. Do they bend easily? Yes, Alira answered, gently bending one to show him. But only in the first hour. After that, it hardens into the shape you choose. That's really useful, he said. Maybe we can make a flowing support system. She blinked. You mean incorporate curves? Yeah, he replied. We can start with your pieces as the foundation. She felt surprised. Humans prefer straight lines. Evan shrugged. Sure, but that doesn't mean yours won't work. Your style actually fits the instructions better. It says we need flexibility in the base. For a moment, she stared at him. Most people, human or alien, would have insisted on beginning with familiar shapes. Evan did not. He listened to what she understood best and built around it. She finally spoke softly. I would like that. If you are comfortable with it. He smiled. I'm comfortable with anything that works. They began. Alira shaped the crystal strips into wide arches, focusing carefully. Her glowing hands traced curved lines, forming a structure that looked like a soft spiral. Evan studied the form, adjusted magnetic supports, and suggested small corrections. They moved naturally, falling into rhythm. When Alira fumbled slightly with a crystalline piece, Evan steadied it without touching her hand, maintaining respectful distance. She appreciated that more than she expected. Soon, their first structure stood balanced, elegant, and stable. The instructor raised an eyebrow as she inspected it. Not the shape I expected humans to lead with, she said with amusement. Alira spoke shyly. Evan suggested we use my people's method. The instructor looked at Evan. Good teamwork. Evan only shrugged. Her design made sense. The instructor walked away, and Alira turned to him, something warm settling in her chest. Thank you for trusting my way. Why wouldn't I? He replied gently. You know your people's tools better than I do. She almost said because most people do not trust what they do not know. But she held that thought inside. She did not want to compare. She wanted to appreciate. Their second task was more challenging. It tested communication under mild stress. They were placed in a simulated environment with dim lights, shifting sounds, and 3 different objectives hidden behind puzzles. Each puzzle required a combination of human logic and Starloon perception. Alira's species could sense harmonic vibrations and energy changes. Humans tended to solve things visually or technically. The trial forced them to combine both. Inside the simulation room, Alira felt the hum of the environment before Evan did. She raised her hand. There is a pattern here. A soft one. He listened. Can you describe it? It feels like a pulse changing directions. Can you sense where it's stronger? Alira moved her hand slightly and pointed. Evan illuminated the area with his wrist light and found a hidden panel with symbols. He laughed lightly. Nice. You found it without even looking. She smiled in a quiet way, not used to praise. Your light made it clearer. They solved one puzzle after another. At one point, a vibration pulse grew louder, making Alira tense. Evan noticed immediately. Are you all right? He asked. Yes. It is just stronger than I expected. We can slow down, he offered. She shook her head. No, I want to continue. But her voice shook slightly. Evan did not push. He adjusted their speed, making sure she had time to breathe. His patience helped her regain focus. They completed the second puzzle with combined skill, her sensing vibrations, his decoding symbols. The final puzzle required them to speak simultaneously to activate dual voice sensors. The challenge was timing. Humans had steady volume. Starloon tones floated lightly. Alira worried she would be too soft. She worried her voice would not be strong enough. Evan stood beside her, calm and steady. Just match my pace, he said gently. I'll adjust to you. She exhaled slowly. When the signal flashed, They spoke together. Her soft voice and his warm tone aligned perfectly. The puzzle activated, and the exit door opened. Alira released a breath she had been holding for too long. Evan glanced at her with quiet approval. "You did great." Her cheeks glowed faintly, a Starloon sign of pride. "You adjusted for me." And you adjusted for me," he replied. Walking back into the main hall, they noticed other teams still arguing or struggling. Some had not communicated well. Some species felt frustrated with human directness. Some humans grew impatient with alien silence. But Alira and Evan walked in with calm steps, completing every trial without a single argument. A few students whispered again, noticing their smooth cooperation. Alira felt a mixture of pride and disbelief. She had expected to struggle, maybe even fail today. Instead, she found strength in places she never expected, in quiet breaths, in steady steps, and in a human who treated her with balanced respect. After the final evaluation, students were dismissed for the day. As they walked toward the corridor, Alira hesitated before speaking. "Evan, may I ask something?" He slowed slightly. "Sure." "When humans speak," she began softly, "your voices carry certainty. And when I speak, I feel like my words are too light. Do you think humans hear me clearly?" Evan looked surprised by her question. "Alira, you speak clearly. You just speak softly. But that doesn't make your words weak." She looked down. "Sometimes I feel like they disappear." "Not to me," he said gently. "Your voice is calm. It makes people want to listen." Her heart warmed at his sincerity. She had never heard a human describe her voice like that. They reached the hall entrance. She turned slightly, her glow brightening. "I'm glad we were partners today." "Me too," he answered. "You made the tasks easy." She smiled softly. "Your calmness made them possible." For a moment, neither moved. The academy hallway buzzed around them, but it felt distant. Alira felt something unfamiliar, comfort she had not known since leaving her home world. Finally, Evan stepped back with a polite nod. "See you tomorrow, Alira." She nodded. "Tomorrow." As he walked away, she watched him disappear around the corner, feeling something new settle inside her. A gentle trust. A quiet connection. A small hope. Alira whispered to herself, "Maybe humans are not unpredictable. Maybe I just needed to meet the right one." And for the first time since joining the academy, she looked forward to the next day. Princess Alira woke the next morning, feeling strangely lighter. The familiar weight of royal expectations was still there, sitting quietly at the back of her thoughts. But something had shifted. Yesterday had shown her something she never expected to find so quickly: a human she could trust, a partner she could work with, someone who saw her not as a fragile heir of the Starloon Dominion, but as a real person trying her best. And because of that, she felt eager, almost excited, to return to the mixed species hall. Her quiet glow shimmered brighter as she prepared for the day. She moved through the academy corridors with more confidence than before. Her steps were still soft, still graceful, but no longer hesitant. The hall was already buzzing with voices when she entered: human laughter mixing with alien chatter, instructors preparing new simulations, small drones arranging equipment. The noise still felt a little overwhelming, but now she had a small anchor in her chest reminding her she was not facing it alone. Evan had not arrived yet. Alira found herself scanning the room for him without meaning to. She told herself she was simply ready for training, not waiting for a specific person. But when she finally saw him entering from the east corridor with a tablet in hand, she felt herself breathe easier, as if her mind had been waiting for that calm presence to complete the space. Evan spotted her and walked over with his usual gentle expression. "Morning," he said. "You're early again." "I like to prepare," she replied softly. "It helps me understand the day better." He nodded. "Makes sense. I try to be early, but engineering labs slow me down." She tilted her head slightly. "You work in engineering, but you joined communication trials too?" "Yeah," he laughed lightly. "Humans multitask badly, but we still try." She smiled at the quiet joke. Their conversation was interrupted by the main instructor calling everyone to gather. Today's trials were going to be more advanced. Not physical challenges, not puzzles, but emotional harmony and cooperation. They would be tested on trust, conflict handling, cultural understanding, and calm reaction under pressure. Many students tensed at the announcement. Emotional tests were harder than simulations, not because they were dangerous, but because they required honesty. Alira felt her heart flutter slightly. Her people rarely raised their voices or used direct words, even in disagreement. Humans, however, expressed emotions openly. She was unsure how she would manage, but when she looked at Evan's steady face beside her, she felt grounded. The first challenge required pairs to share decision-making in a shifting scenario. They were placed inside a holographic environment where the conditions changed every few minutes. Water levels rose, light dimmed, sounds changed. They had to adjust and choose tasks quickly but calmly. Alira's instincts sharpened. Her people navigated using subtle cues, and she could sense the hum of the simulation changing before the visuals shifted. Evan watched the screens while she sensed the early pulses. They complemented each other so naturally that instructors paused to observe them. Each time Alira sensed a change, she spoke softly. Evan responded quickly, but never rushed her. When the environment turned dark, and a wave of noise made some students panic, Evan stepped slightly in front of Alira, not shielding her, but giving her space to adjust. She appreciated it more than she said. When the simulation ended, they had completed the challenge with smooth coordination. Many teams argued about choices or panicked at the noise changes, but Alira and Evan barely exchanged more than calm instructions. As they stepped out, Evan glanced sideways at her. "You gave early warnings. That saved us." She lowered her eyes. "You trusted them. That made it possible." Her glow brightened faintly, showing quiet pride. The next challenge was harder. Each pair had to handle a conflict scenario. A hologram would simulate a misunderstanding. Partners had to talk through it, respectfully, solve it, and explain their reasoning. It was meant to show how humans and aliens could avoid unnecessary tension in future missions. When the simulation began, the hologram created a typical cultural misinterpretation. A vibrating light pulse represented a Starloon greeting gesture. The hologram misinterpreted it as a warning signal. Alira had to explain it. Evan had to clarify his side. The goal was to show both perspectives without raising tension. Alira explained the Starloon greeting slowly, demonstrating with her glowing hands. Evan listened attentively, then translated her explanation into human-style logic, making the hologram understand. Their communication flowed gently. No arguments, no embarrassment. When the hologram finally displayed the resolution achieved symbol, they both felt relieved. The instructor approached them afterward. "You two handle misunderstandings exceptionally well," she said. "Your calmness is helping other students settle down." Alira blinked. "Helping others?" "Yes," the instructor smiled. "Some students were watching you instead of panicking. You're setting the tone in the room." Alira felt warmth spread in her chest. She never imagined people would look at her not because she was a princess, but because she was doing something right here. During the break, aliens from 2 different species approached her for guidance. "Princess Alira," one said shyly, "how do you stay so calm around humans? Their energy is so strong." Alira opened her mouth to explain she wasn't always calm. She had been scared too. She had struggled with human directness. But then, she saw Evan nearby, listening with a small smile. She realized that maybe her growth could help others. She spoke gently. "Humans express themselves strongly, but humans also listen strongly. If you speak softly but clearly, they will hear you. And if you feel overwhelmed, give yourself a breath." The aliens nodded gratefully. Evan looked a little proud watching her speak. Then humans approached Evan, asking how to understand quiet alien communication. He pointed toward Alira. "Ask her. She explains it better than I do." Alira's glow brightened again, surprised but touched. The next trial began shortly after. In this one, pairs were tested on emotional stability. Each partner had to speak about a small personal fear, not a deep secret, just something simple, and the other partner had to respond in a comforting, understanding way. Alira tensed. Her people rarely spoke openly about fears, but she trusted Evan. And maybe this was another step she had to take. When it was her turn, she spoke quietly. I fear disappointing others. My people see me as a symbol. If I make mistakes, I fear it reflects badly on them. Evan listened closely, his expression softening. That's a heavy fear, he said gently. But you don't have to carry it alone. Mistakes don't define you. You're learning just like the rest of us. She nodded gratefully, her heart warming. Thank you. Then Evan shared his fear. I'm afraid of not being good enough, he admitted. Humans are expected to be brave, confident, loud. And I'm not like that. I worry people expect more than I can give. Alira's eyes softened. You give more than you think, she whispered. Your calm nature helps others. You helped me. The instructor watching them wrote notes with thoughtful approval. The final activity of the day was a leadership rotation. Each partner took turns guiding the pair through a small task. Leadership for Alira meant she had to speak a little louder, give instructions, and take initiative. She felt nervous. But when Evan looked at her and gave a small, encouraging nod, she found the confidence to begin. Her voice was still soft, but steady. She guided them using both human logic and Starloon sensing. Evan followed her lead easily. When she hesitated once, unsure which choice was best, he waited silently, no pressure, no rush, until she made her decision. That small patience gave her strength. When it was Evan's turn, he led with gentle clarity. He asked for her input often, showing that leadership wasn't one-sided. Alira felt included rather than directed. Their teamwork impressed the instructors again. At the end of the long day, the hall slowly emptied. Students left in small groups, exhausted from emotional challenges. Alira stayed a moment longer, allowing her glow to settle. Evan walked over. You did great today, he said. So did you, Alira replied. I am learning more because of you. He shook his head lightly. We're learning because of each other. That made her smile softly. The academy windows reflected faint colors onto her shimmering skin. Evan noticed the soft glow and said, You look brighter today. She lowered her gaze shyly. I feel more myself. They walked together down the corridor. Their steps were slow, comfortable. For the first time, Alira felt her heart completely relax in this academy. She felt safe walking beside a human who understood silence, gentleness, respect, and patience. Before they reached the intersection where their paths separated, Alira stopped. Evan turned to her. Evan, she said softly, thank you for accepting me as I am. You don't need to thank me, he replied. You deserve to be accepted. Her glow warmed. Still, thank you. He nodded with a warm smile. See you tomorrow, partner. Tomorrow, she echoed. As he walked away, Alira touched her chest with one glowing hand, feeling a new sense of belonging settle deep inside her. For years, she believed her place was always beside her people, always behind official walls, always limited by expectations. But here, on this mixed academy, walking beside a human with a calm voice and patient eyes, she finally felt something new. She felt like she was finding her place not as a princess, not as a symbol, but as herself. And she could not wait to see what the next day would bring. The final day of the program arrived far sooner than Princess Alira expected. It felt strange that so many moments, so many fears, lessons, discoveries, and new understandings could fit into only a few weeks. When she first stepped into the academy, she had been nervous, unsure, overwhelmed by human energy, and uncertain about her own place among them. Now she walked through the halls with a quiet confidence, her glow steady, her steps no longer hesitant. She felt rooted. She felt connected. She felt prepared. Today was the presentation day for all mixed species teams, humans, aliens, and instructors from across the academy gathered in the great atrium, a large dome of light with floating seating platforms. The place hummed with excitement and tension. Every pair would stand before the crowd and share what they had learned, not through tests or simulations, but through their own words and actions. Alira arrived early, as usual. She liked the silence of empty rooms before the noise filled them. She stood near the center of the atrium, watching the holographic stage shift into place. Her hands rested softly in front of her as she breathed in the calm before the storm. Evan arrived a few minutes later, carrying a small data pad with notes. He glanced around, spotted her standing alone, and walked over with a warm smile. "Morning," he said. "Ready?" Alira turned toward him, her glow softening at the familiar sight. "I hope so," she answered. "This is important." "It is," he agreed. "But you've handled harder moments than this." She tilted her head. "Harder? When?" He chuckled. "The navigation trial. The puzzle trial. The emotional trial. You handled all of them while trying to adjust to humans at the same time. Compared to that, speaking to a crowd is easy." Her eyes softened. "You always make things sound easier." "Oh, because you make them look easier," he replied gently. Before Alira could respond, the instructor called teams to line up. The presentations would begin shortly. Alira and Evan found their designated spot among the rows of pairs. Some students shook with nerves. Some spoke too fast, rehearsing their lines. Some aliens adjusted translation devices. Alira felt her own nerves rise, but then she felt Evan's calm presence beside her, grounding her. The first few teams presented well. Some shared stories about misunderstandings they overcame. Others shared funny moments from training. A few pairs admitted they struggled at first but learned to respect each other's differences. A warm atmosphere filled the atrium. Even the most nervous voices gradually found confidence as the crowd listened. When it was their turn, Alira felt her heart flutter. She stepped forward beside Evan, both facing the sea of humans and aliens watching them. The light from the ceiling reflected off her glowing skin, making her look almost ethereal. She sensed every eye on her. She sensed her people's expectations, even from far across the galaxy. But she also sensed something else, Evan's steady presence at her side, calm and reassuring. The instructor announced their names, then stepped aside. Evan whispered softly, "Whenever you're ready." Alira nodded. She let her breath settle. She looked at the audience and began speaking in her soft, musical voice. "When I first arrived at this academy," she said, "I believed humans were too different for me to understand. Their voices were loud. Their steps were strong, and their energy felt overwhelming. I feared I would never find my place." The crowd grew silent, listening closely. "I also feared," she continued, "that if I failed, it would reflect badly on my people. I carried the weight of more than just my own steps." Her glow dimmed slightly as she spoke honestly, but she met the crowd's gaze with courage. "Then," she said, turning her head slightly toward Evan, "I met someone who helped me understand that difference is not danger, and quiet is not weakness." Evan listened carefully as she spoke, his eyes warm with respect. She continued, "Evan taught me that humans can be gentle. That understanding does not need to be loud. That trust can grow slowly, like light spreading one breath at a time." Many students in the audience softened at her words. Evan did not smile proudly or shift uncomfortably. He simply listened, as he always had from the first day. Then it was Evan's turn. He stepped forward slightly, holding his data pad but not looking at it. "When this program started," he said, "I didn't think I would stand out in any way. I'm not the loudest human, not the strongest, not the most confident. I thought my role would be quiet, probably unnoticed." Some humans in the audience nodded knowingly. "But working with Alira," he went on, "showed me something important. Leadership doesn't always mean being the loudest voice. Sometimes it means listening, being patient, being steady, and trusting your partner's strengths." Alira felt a quiet warmth spread in her chest. Evan added with a gentle grin. Alira sees things before I do. She senses things I don't. She understands calm in ways humans rarely practice. Working with her made me better not just as a student, but as a person. The crowd murmured in appreciation. The instructor then asked them to demonstrate something they learned together. It could be anything. Communication, teamwork, coordination. Alira and Evan shared a look. Silently deciding, Evan whispered, "Your lead." Alira nodded, calming her breath. She raised her glowing hands and created a small harmonic pulse, the same kind she used during the puzzle trials. The pulse shifted subtly, bouncing off surfaces. Evan read the reflections and translated the shifting patterns into visual diagrams on the holographic screen. The audience watched in fascination as the two worked in perfect synchronization, Alira sensing unseen patterns, Evan converting them into readable data. Their demonstration was smooth, elegant, and balanced. Neither overpowered the other. Their strengths blended seamlessly. When they finished, the atrium erupted in gentle applause, humans clapping, and aliens humming approval. Alira felt her glow brighten involuntarily, touched by the response. Evan smiled at her. Proud, but humble. The instructor stepped forward again. "This partnership," she said, "has shown that harmony is not about sameness. It is about respect, patience, and understanding. Their teamwork represents what this academy was built for." Alira felt her heart swell. Evan looked slightly embarrassed by the praise but accepted it with a small nod. After the presentations ended, students gathered in groups to celebrate. Some teams exchanged stories. Others took pictures or shared snacks from their home worlds. The atmosphere was warm and joyful. Alira stood near one of the crystal pillars, watching the room. She felt something she had not felt in a long time: belonging. Not forced, not assigned, not expected. Real belonging. The kind that grows when people see you for who you are. Evan approached her again, carrying 2 small drinks. One human, one adjusted to be safe for Starloon physiology. He handed her the glowing amber glass. "I wasn't sure if you'd like this," he said, "but it's the mildest flavor they have." Alira accepted it with a soft smile. "Thank you. You always think carefully." He shrugged lightly. "It's not hard. It is rare," she corrected gently. They stood side by side, sipping their drinks. The atrium felt brighter around them. Students waved at them in appreciation or respect, recognizing them not just as strong performers but as examples of cooperation. Alira turned to Evan after a quiet moment. "I learned much here," she said. "More than I expected." "Me too," he replied. "I learned that humans are not as chaotic as I feared." He laughed gently. "We are a little chaotic." "Yes," she admitted softly, "but also kind." Evan's smile softened. "And I learned that aliens aren't impossible to understand, just different in beautiful ways." Alira lowered her eyes shyly. "That means much to me." As the crowd began slowly leaving the atrium, Alira and Evan remained for a moment longer. Neither wanted the moment to end too quickly. The past weeks had changed them both. They had shared fears, solved puzzles, overcome misunderstandings, and built something stronger than they expected. Alira finally spoke, her voice gentle. "When I first came here, I wanted to find my place." "You did," Evan said softly. "And you made this place better for others too." Her glow brightened. "I did not do that alone." "No," Evan agreed. "We did it together." The simplicity of that truth made her chest warm. They walked slowly toward the exit, 2 silhouettes moving side by side, one glowing softly, the other steady and calm. Alira felt the weight she once carried dissolve into something lighter, something hopeful. Before they parted ways outside the atrium, she turned to him one last time. "Evan," she whispered, "thank you for helping me find my place." He looked at her with gentle sincerity. "Alira, you didn't find it. You built it." Her heart fluttered softly at his words. As they walked away in opposite directions, Alira carried a new truth inside her. She had come to the academy as a princess, uncertain of humans, unsure of her own place. But now she walked forward as someone stronger, someone who understood harmony, someone who believed in unity, someone who trusted the bond she had formed with a human partner who never tried to overshadow her, only walk beside her.